those of you who know the Bhadram Karnevi mantra, please keep your eyes closed. For those of you who are not familiar with the mantra, please open your books to find the words so that you may join us.
Om Bhadram Karnevi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryachatraha Sthirairangai Sushtuvagam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashavaha Swasti nः Pusha Vishwavedaः Swasti nस्तार्क्ष्यो Varishthanemiः Swasti no Brahaspatirdatatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We invoke Pujya Gurudev. Bring his form to mind. Within your hearts, bow down, invoking his presence so that we may truly absorb this wisdom, so that he may guide us in our thinking, in our listening, in our speaking for this session. Samasta Jana Kalyane
Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram.
We find that we have many obstacles in our lives, but when we look at it more closely, all the obstacles are actually within us, more than they are outside in the world. Because the same situation, when it presents itself to someone else, they can deal with it differently. Something that causes us a lot of stress doesn't cause everyone the same amount of stress. And so we find that the stages that we have to go through, or the way that we have to deal with our mind, can be broadly categorized into our dealing with our likes and dislikes. So much of what we have to do throughout the day is dealing with our likes and dislikes. From the most basic of what we eat, and then of course, far more potently with people. We like certain people and then the relationship is so small. We don't like a person and even the nicest thing they say, what do they mean? And so our likes and dislikes have such a strong hold on us. And so we find that the Vedas can be broadly just categorized into three sections. The first of it is karma kanda. To do actions in a way that it purifies our mind. So the first thing that the Vedas teach us is to purify ourselves through the daily actions that occur. Am I loud enough? You all can hear me? Okay. Then the Vedas go on to the Upasana section. The Vedas are huge. So we purify our mind. And after we get that sense of little bit of calm, because until we purify the mind is so restless. Constantly picking and thinking and analyzing and judging and criticizing and stressing and getting annoyed, and there's no time to think anything else or to feel anything else or to know anything else. And sometimes you, even just like how when we're watching TV and we're bored, and you just keep flicking. Or people going through their feed on Instagram and every picture there's a reaction. Not even that we sit and we truly even understand what we're thinking about each thing. Right? It just comes, goes. But then when we purify the mind to some extent, and the mind is slightly under control. Not that it's completely under control. Upasana is to make the mind single-pointed. So we bring it to a point where it's a little bit manageable, then we direct it. And of course in the Vedas, the idea is to direct it to the higher. Because directing it to things we're very familiar with is, we've become pros at it. To think about enemy number one, directing the mind, no effort needed. But to think of Brahman, a lot of effort needed. So Upasana is not just single-pointed. It's single-pointedly lifting the mind to the higher. So we have the karma kanda, and we have all the sadhanas that are being prescribed. And so I said all our challenges can also be understood in 3. So the first, karma kanda, was to help us with the challenge of the impurities in our minds. The raga, the dvesha, the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada. These are things you all would have been hearing over the years. And the second challenge is, anyone we speak to who tries to meditate, do japa, but my mind is constantly wandering. I can't focus. And so this fickleness of our mind, right? This restlessness of our mind is addressed by the second part of the Veda, to make it single-pointed, to give it direction, to train it. These techniques train us to make the mind focused, channelized. And of course, the more focused it is, we already have been listening to Vedanta, so we know it becomes more powerful. The more single-pointed the mind is, the more powerful our mind is. And you can see this even in the littlest of kids. When they want something, they are forced to reckon with. That single-pointedness makes us very, very strong. The karma kanda made us very, very clean, pure. Then the last part of the Vedas is this, Vedanta, which we hold so incredibly sacred. Because at the end of any problem you choose, you had a fight with your husband, you stressed about work, your illness is causing so much aches and pains, you can't manage your time and you're feeling very all over the place and overwhelmed with so many activities that you have to do. Any single problem we have, then we ask ourselves why. And so we'll say, yes, I wasn't disciplined enough to wake up in the morning and therefore I was late and that's why I didn't have enough time and then I got stressed. Why? Because I slept late last night. No. Why? Why am I indisciplined? Why am I not able to get up when I know I should be getting up? And if you keep going, why, we will get to the point of, within our hearts, we haven't understood something or the other. If I'm indisciplined, in my heart, I haven't understood the benefits of discipline. If I'm fighting with someone and spend so much energy fighting with them, in my heart, I haven't understood the glory of harmony. If I'm stressed, because what will happen in the future? You all in Singapore seem very calm. In Hong Kong, the stress is so tangible at the moment. Why? Because I haven't understood that whatever it holds, Aldi, we'll face, it will work out. Whichever the condition it is in the world outside, whatever the problem is in our spiritual journey, the problem is there because there is something I haven't understood. Maybe I've heard it. Maybe I've even been able to give beautiful pravachan to somebody else on it. But the truth is, I haven't quite got it. And therefore, the problem still exists for me. Somebody else, it doesn't exist for. There are people who are sensitive and somebody says something and they feel so bad. And people who are not sensitive and somebody says the same thing to them and they laugh. Why? They've understood. There's no point. It's an opinion. Maybe it's true also. It's not very flattering. So what? And they laugh. It's not a problem. But when I fail to understand that it can be seen in a different way, that it doesn't matter as much, that I can see it as my own quirks, it becomes a problem because now I'm upset and I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking about it and how dare they, I thought they were my friend. And it becomes a problem. So, from the spiritual sense, so even from the worldly point of view, we understand that the problem exists because ignorance, right? If my business is not doing well, why? Why isn't it doing well? It will be some system. It will be some skill that I have failed to understand. And from the spiritual point of view, we've understood. We've been told again and again and again and again that the problem is we don't know who we are. Forget we don't know how to run the company and how to have the relationship and how to discipline the child and how to get to work on time and rearrange all the emails. Never mind, I don't know all that. I don't even know who I am. I'm convinced I am some image that I have created in my head. But that also keeps changing, because if I say, are you disciplined? Most of you will say, sometimes. That's not an answer. That's a variable. It keeps changing. So, Upanishad solves this root problem. The first problem was impurities of the mind. But if this is the root problem, why didn't we solve this one first? Until the mind's pure, knowledge doesn't get absorbed. So we start with the preparation. We start with the solving of the first problem, which is the impurities in our mind. Then the second problem is the restlessness in our mind. And then finally, if you can sit with a heart that is receptive and a mind that is concentrated, and we hear this most profound, beautiful knowledge, it will go in. Otherwise, you come to class and you listen, and it will be just the way you watch a movie. When we watch a movie, when we come out of the movie, nothing's changed inside. We think, oh, nice movie. Same way we'll come to class and we'll think, very nice. Entertained by this knowledge, and we leave. It only leads to a transformation within us when purified, concentrated, receptive. And so Upanishad is that student who has done the groundwork, who has spent years of doing tapas, with a burning desire that enough now. I was born, I died, I was born, I died, I was born, I was died. How many times am I going to do this? Enough. Now I want the truth. So having done the tapas, having awakened the mumukshutvam in the heart, that student goes to the Guru, bows down, and listens to this highest knowledge. Upanishad, Guruji's explanation is there in the commentary, basically translates to kneel down, sit. A lot of y'all have heard Upanishads before, so I don't need to go into the details of it. The Shishya sits down, meaning having humility in the heart, having come close to the Guru, because it is only from this sacred relationship where the knowledge is transferred. Kneel down, and the sit is, the journey is done. Our whole life we journey, we're getting somewhere, we're going somewhere, we're becoming something. Done. Sit. At the feet of the Guru, journey finishes. And if I am truly receptive, Guru will do the rest. Please note, if I am truly receptive, if I'm not, I have to go back, karma karma, upasana. So, Upanishad, there is this final knowledge. When I'm done with everything else. Means every other desire, done. Our desires for enjoying, done. Desire for name, fame, status, power, done. Who wants power? What will I do with it? Doesn't accomplish anything. Stress only will give me. Desire for progeny, for lineage, for done. Right? That's why when we greet a Mahatma, we say, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena. Done. Those desires are done. Outgrown. Gurudev would say chewed and spat out. Like you throw away chewing gum because no more flavor in there. Therefore, it's the end. We only get to this point after we've truly understood and desires are let go down. Then we get to Upanishad. That's why it's called Veda Anta, the end. And this particular Upanishad that we're starting today, Ganapati Atharvasirsa. Atharva is broken up into A and Tarva. And as you can guess by the name, the Upanishad is from Atharva Veda. So Tarva means to shake, to tremble. Which means, possibly I'm scared. Which most of us are. Of something or the other, the unknown. Atharva means fearless. What Upanishad is this? Fearless Upanishad. And actually every Upanishad is fearless Upanishad. Because this knowledge makes us fearless. When I know I am infinite and unchanging, what could possibly scare me? When I know I am all powerful and all knowing, what could possibly fear me? Sorry, scare me. Atharva also means changing. Okay? If I'm shaking, movement. Movement is constant change, which is this whole world. If we look at the atom, which goes into the proton and then the neutron and then further and then you go further and then you go further and then what do you find? Nothing but shaking. Right? This whole universe, when you see at the molecular level, is nothing but vibration, which is shaking. So, Atharva. No change, no movements, changeless. Now how beautiful is this? Why do we get scared? Because things change. I know how to deal with this. What's this? I got married, finally worked out how to deal with her. She knows my quirks, I know her quirks. He knows my quirks, I know his quirks. Then, baby, change. Now how to deal with this? Of course there's joy, but there's stress also. And we just get used to this baby. This one will eat this, but not eat this. Will sleep in the car, but won't sleep in the bed. Okay, we figured it out. Then change. The baby only changes. Won't sleep in the car anymore. Change is what? Frazzles us. What creates so much? Now what? We're so disorientated. Politically also we can see. Country is working smoothly and then suddenly some change. We're seeing it on a global level. When Trump came in, when Brexit came in, when pretty much protest in so many different countries in the world. Now what? We don't know how to deal with this new administration, these new rules, this new climate, this new... And so the fear is actually caused by the change in our lives. Dharma is the same thing. But when we can center in that which is changeless, then when the changes in the world come along, we're not scared by it. We know something deeper. So this fearless, changeless reality in this Upanishad is prescribed as Ganesha. And it's unique in that way, because mostly Upanishads don't deal with form. Upanishads go straight into formless. And that's why possibly this Upanishad is so incredibly popular in Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga we need a form. Our minds are not as subtle. But also Ganeshji is one of these adorable forms. There isn't a single house that won't have Ganeshji. Even just as decoration. Some artwork somewhere. And you'll see he is the most famous. You go America, you go London, you go, they may not know Kalima and Krishna and all, but they'll have Ganesh. On t-shirts, on decorative pieces, there's something very affectionate in the form of Ganesha. There's something, like very, that pulls us in a very non-confrontational way, which is why people who are not even from the Hindu tradition are happy to have a Ganesha. It doesn't invoke, like that, all those, I'm a Hindu, I'm a this, I'm a this. It's just a Ganesha. Very easy to accept. And because he's so cute, and because he's so quirky, with the big belly, and the big ears, and the trunk, we may not comprehend the depth and significance of this form, and even just the name of Ganesha. So in this Upanishad, he's not called Ganesha, referred to Ganapati, and we'll be seeing the meaning. So we'll start with the Shanti Mantra, which we've already chanted. How many of you are already very familiar with this Bhadram Karnevi Shanti Mantra? Not just the chanting, but the meaning? Have heard it before? A fair few of you, because it comes in quite a few Upanishads, right? Atharva Veda. It's the main Shanti Mantra for the Atharva Veda, and We have seen it in a few of the Upanishads, Katha Upanishads, and so on and so forth. So I'll go through it fairly quickly. Bhadram karnebi shunayama deva. May what I hear be auspicious. Bhadram pashye makshavirya jantraha. May what I see be auspicious. So everything in our lives, we want it to be auspicious, but these three senses are taken out. One, they don't say. In Vedanta tradition, it's a norm that if I say, hear and see, it includes all the senses. If I say kama, krodha, it includes the whole group of the 6 impurities of the mind. There's set groups, and people who are aware of the tradition know the groups, and so the first 2 of the group is said, you know that it's referring to the whole group. Vedanta does that. So everything should be auspicious. What I see, what I hear, what I taste, what I smell, what I feel, what I think, what I remember, what I speak, the way I act, everything should be auspicious. But these 2 are pointed out specifically because if you think about the way you think in words. And words are heard. Even when you are thinking, you are hearing your thoughts within yourself. Not some other voice. Nobody else is talking to you in your head. Your own voice. We all hear it. We all hear our own voice in our head. That running commentary that goes on. So even now when I'm thinking, even now when I'm talking and you are trying to understand, there might be thoughts in your head. Right? What did she think? What did she mean? This or that? Oh yeah, that other speaker also said the same thing. That we hear. It's not a physical hearing with this outside ear, but it's a hearing. So we're hearing ourselves in our head all the time. May it be Bhadram. So it's not just may I hear auspiciousness, I put on bhajans out there. Listening, auspicious. Bhagwan's mantra playing. People have, that box in their house 24/7. It goes on. Why? Bhadram karne bhi. In the car you go bhajans. Why? Bhadram karne bhi. And it's good. I'm not making fun of it. Please continue listening to the bhajan rather than all the other phaltu stuff, especially CNN. It's not all phaltu, but it's much nicer to hear things that uplift us. But just putting the bhajan on doesn't mean Bhadram karne bhi shunaya. Because what am I thinking while the bhajan is going on? Bhajan can be beautifully saying Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, and I am thinking, today when I meet her, I'll show her who's boss. I'm not hearing the bhajan. I'm hearing my own thoughts. Shunayama is I am listening. Before anything else, I hear my own thoughts. And then of course if I speak it, I hear it. How else do we think? One, we think in dialogue. Even when we're thinking, we'll make up the dialogue of the other person. So one way we think is words. The second way we think is images. That's why social media filled with images. Advertisement, images. Our vanity, image. Bhagwan's form, image. Why? Because that's the second way we think. Thoughts only appear as words and forms. We don't think anything else. We don't think with smell. Smell might trigger thinking, but we don't think with smell, or through the medium of it, or through taste. In fact, it's actually hard to remember a taste. Right now I had to remember sweetness. I know I've tasted it, I know I like it, but right now I can't taste it. Whereas if I tell you to think chocolate cake, you can see it. Straight away you can see in your mind which one you like. But I tell you chocolate cake, you can't taste it right now. Why? Because our thoughts don't work that way. Our thoughts work as sound. I said it, you could see it. You heard it and you could see it. You can't taste it right. You can remember that you've tasted it. You can remember that you like it. But you can't taste it right now. Whereas when I say it, you can see it in the mind's eye. You can hear it in the mind's eye. So thoughts work in the form of sound and form. And so these two, Bhadram, basically me, inside, my programming, my constant producing of thoughts, may they be Bhadram, auspicious. Auspicious means it blesses me and it blesses everyone else. If I have a kind thought, it blesses me, blesses everyone else. If I have a grateful thought, it blesses me, blesses everyone else. If I have a spiteful thought, doesn't bless me, certainly doesn't bless the other person. If I have an indisciplined thought, doesn't bless me, doesn't help everyone else either. So, Bhadram Karnevi, Shruniyama Deva, Bhadram Pashriyamakshadeya Jatra. May my thoughts be auspicious, may my thinking be, and constantly producing so many thoughts, may they all be auspicious. Stire Rangehi Stashtivagam Swastamadihi. May I live a long, healthy life. Stire Rangehi means may my limbs be firm, agile. Yashema Deva Hitam Yadayuhu. May I live long. Upanishads are very, very practical. May I live long, may I be healthy. May the ears continue to be able to hear, so I can hear satsang. May the eyes continue to be able to see, so I can enjoy the form of the Lord. May I continue to be effective, efficient. Upanishads is very much about Upanishads, even though they teach us the world is ultimately unreal, do not deny the existence of the world or the necessity of us to function in the world. Otherwise, why should it say I live a long, healthy life? Right? If the world's unreal and the body's unreal, no, I can die. Don't need to be healthy and strong. But no, I do. Because even though this is not the ultimate reality, I'm functioning in this world. And if I function as an instrument of the Lord, it's such a glorious life. So, I live long, I be effective, I be powerful, I be knowledgeable, I be compassionate. That's the glory the Upanishad wants for all of us. Be famous, and be famous to do all the beautiful things that there are in this world. You know, there's certain people, their name that we say, and it invokes such different reactions in our people. If I say Donald Trump, a certain reaction is caused in your mind. When I say Oprah Winfrey, a very different reaction is caused in your mind. Why? What are they famous for? Of course, then there's ambiguous ones, like Narendra Modi, some will be like, some will be like, But there's ones that are very safe. Will Smith, very famous, does amazing work people may know or may not know. Yeah. So may we live this glorious life, that when people say our name, the reaction is like Oprah Winfrey. The reaction is like Steve Jobs. That they did good. They left behind a beautiful legacy. They made the world a better place. Steve Jobs, I'm not so sure. Swastina Indra Vridhasha. Then we invoke Indra. Right? Swastina Pusha Vishwa Vedaha. Indra because he is famous. Then we invoke the sun, who is all-knowing. Swastina Saksha Varishtanemihi. We invoke Garuda. Swastina Brahaspatir Gadatu. Did I mix up the order? Doesn't matter. We invoke Guru. Okay? Actually, I can take a whole class just on this. But we have to get to the actual Upanishad. We haven't yet started. We invoke the different principles in the universe because they bless us in different ways. Indra, king of the heavens, and all the senses are ruled by different devatas in the heaven. But also Indra is fame. And like I just mentioned, we want people to think well of us. So invoke Indra. Have what it is you want. Remember, when the desire is done and we can do tick, closer we can get to the end. Otherwise, we're obsessed with that desire. When will I get attention? When will I get famous? When will people notice me? Can't people see how amazing I am? Why don't they like me? Why aren't they praising me? The mind will be busy in that, and I'm not thinking, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Why don't they like me? Maybe I'll wear something different. Maybe I'll say something different. Maybe I'll cook something different. Maybe I'll open new Instagram. Maybe I'll join pottery class. The mind will keep thinking all those things until we do tick. So if you want fame, have it. Swastina Indra. Sun, knowledge. All of us. It's very innate within us that we want knowledge. Even two people are doing what they say. We want to know what they're saying. Proof that we all want knowledge. We just don't want Brahman knowledge. We want to know what those two people are saying. Eventually, then I'll get to Brahman knowledge. So may I be radiant like the sun. May I be illuminous. May I be knowledgeable. But it's really, really handy, even in worldly sense. Because sometimes I won't know how to use the phone and this gadget and this app and this and that. Some 14-year-old Tukku will come and figure it all out. And I'll have to say, thank you. Knowledge is power. We need it. And swiftness. Garuda is here because of swiftness. There's also many, many stories of Garuda, but we're not going to go into them. But the thing I think that my favorite thing about Garuda, when Garuda flaps his wings, that's what created the Vedas. How cool is that? If you just do this and Vedas come out. We just don't have that same power. So we bow down to Garuda. Instrument of the Lord. For nothing else, we bow down because he's the instrument of the Lord. And Guru. Because we can say what we want. We can say, I will listen to YouTube. I will read in books. Some person made the YouTube. Some person wrote the book. Wherever I get this knowledge from, to that person, if I don't have the utmost gratitude, the knowledge doesn't bless me. But when I have that reverence and love for the person giving this knowledge, I hold the knowledge so much more sacred. And that knowledge blesses me. Otherwise, it just makes me arrogant. I know this now, I can quote this now. But when I'm grateful for having it, when I've been able to bow down, there's hope that it goes through the intellect and through the thinking layers to my heart and brings about the transformation that I actually desperately want, but forget to work on. So, Swastino Brahaspatir Dadatu. This is the invocation prayer done by Guru and student to be on the same page, so that we may now start proper Upanishad. So we'll read it. You all doing? I'm doing? You all prepared, right? Om Namaste Ganapataye
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं तत्त्वमसि त्वमेव केवलं कर्तासि त्वमेव केवलं भर्तासि त्वमेव केवलं भर्तासि त्वमेव सर्वं खल्विदं ब्रह्मासि त्वं साक्षादात्मासि नित्यम्.
That's the next verse. So this is the opening of the Upanishad. Om Namaste Ganapataye. Starts with a bowing down. So to continue from the mood of the Shanti mantra, Namaste Ganapataye. Namaste we usually see as when we do fold our hands and we greet. But Namaste is actually also the touching of the Guru's feet. Right? We have different words for it in regional languages. And basically it's usually elders will tell the younger one, bow down. So even that's called namaskaram, that bowing down. And so Om Namaste Ganapataye is that bowing down that's being referred to. And the bowing down, it depends how much we're willing to give. And so if I can say Namaste. Not willing to give much at all. I can Namaste. That's all giving more. But when I shush down, willing to give completely. So even though the physical is just a depiction, the depiction is indicative of how much am I willing to give? What am I giving? What am I giving in my Namaste? This is very important. Ramana Maharishi, there's this beautiful story. Ramana Maharishi was the most man of very, very few words, and when he did speak, it was very profound. He never did any kind of social banter or chit-chat. He only talked Veda or the praise of Lord Shiva. No extra word he spoke in his life. He lived this amazing, amazing life. So somebody once asked Ramana Maharishi, where's your feet so I can bow down? I never understand this question, because people will ask me too, where's your feet? Where can they go? If I'm here, where can the feet be? But people do ask this question. So somebody asked Ramana Maharishi, where's your feet? I want to bow down. And Bhagwan Ramana answered, do you know what Namaste means? In Namaste, we take the head, our head, and we put it at Guru's feet, the Lord's feet. What does head mean? And what does feet mean? This was Ramana's way of talking. Ramana only ever asked questions. Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi only ever asked questions. Because his whole view of spirituality was inquiry. You have to think, you have to think, you have to think. So what is head? And head is when we wake up in the morning, what's the first thought we think? I can be really cruel and say we won't finish the Upanishad till your answer. And good luck finding your first thought. You won't find it. Why won't you find it? Because you're not there until the thought is formed. You means ego entity. Doesn't exist until you finished thinking the first thought. So you won't find it. This can be a lifelong sadhana. Find your first thought. And if you do, if you actually, when you're waking up and you actually find your first thought, you'll realize. Because, yes, theoretically we know, I am is the first thought, but it's not. Because when I'm thinking I am, I don't think I'm me. There is just presence of existence. And then the thought will come, I'm tired. Do I have to wake up? Or what time is it? What day is it? All those thoughts will come. But when those thoughts come, I'm already the ego entity. When the first I comes, I'm not ego entity. That's why if I find it, I realize. Because to find the first thought, I have to go beyond ego identity. That creating of the I am as ego identity is head. All this thinking processes happens in my head. And Guru's feet, especially our Guru has the name on it, Chinmaya. Consciousness. All Gurus. It works out really well that his name is consciousness. Chit, consciousness. For any thought to appear, consciousness has to first be there. In consciousness, the thought appears. And so it's the foundation. Guru's feet is that consciousness in which all thoughts rise, fall, sustain, play, delude, enlighten. So I take my head, my continuous thinking, and offer it at consciousness, where I will become silent. Om Namaste Ganapataye. If I actually do this, I don't need the rest of the Upanishad. Please note, in the very first mantra, the entire spiritual journey is given. I have to surrender the constant identification with ego, which is continuously being produced by my own thinking. I surrender that to consciousness. And so I no longer believe all the thoughts, but I revel in consciousness. Right now, we revel in our thoughts. What will I have for breakfast? Maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll... So interested that is. Consciousness, what's that? No reveling when we talk about consciousness. But if I can really do Namaste Ganapataye, your Ganesha is that consciousness. Ganesha is the Guru onto which we surrender all our thinking. And the Lord of remover of obstacles. All obstacles is nothing but our thinking. And so if I surrender, there would be no obstacles. Om Namaste Ganapataye. Ganapati, Ganapati. Pati means Lord of, Gana means groups. What groups? The whole world gets described and diagnosed as in terms of groups. So whichever science, right? If you're in biology, then they'll give you reptiles, amphibians, mammals, correct? Then in those groups, subgroups, and then in those groups, subgroups. If you do chemistry, there's that whole periodic table. So many elements there are. And certain elements are metal, gas. My chemistry is very rusty. But there's all these groups. You do history, there'll be groups, this period, that period. Any subject we do. Even I started the class with Vedas have this section, this section, this section. Our mind has this impurity, this impurity. We constantly have groups. The way we understand anything is the first thing we do is classify, categorize. Ganapati means he is the Lord of all groups. Any group that you can think of that exists, he is the Lord of it. Which means
everything.
Lord of everything. But very important, he doesn't belong to any group. Ganesha himself doesn't belong to any group, but is the Lord of all groups. Why does that matter to us? Well, there's a few groups that really matter to us. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, the five senses. Control my whole life. I heard one speaker say very nicely, we usually say, the senses reside in us. Right? Means we all have senses and we use our senses. And she said it's not true. The senses preside in us. Means they control. They dictate. What I see, what I do, what I taste, what I hear. Senses control. And more than that, my likes and dislikes through the senses control. So, Lord Ganapati, who controls all the groups, please control mine. Because I'm not doing a very good job. Therefore, Namaste. I surrender. There's body, mind, intellect, another group, then there's the five pranas, and there's the 4 different types of minds, and then within our own body, mind, intellect equipment, there's so many groups. So he, Lord of everything, and Lord of me. If he's in charge of the 5 senses, if he's in charge of the pranas, 5 different pranas, if he's in charge of the states, waking, dream, sleep, if he's in charge of the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, all that is in me. I have sattva, rajas, tamas. I go through waking, dream, sleep. I have body, mind, intellect. And so, he's not just some Lord in charge of the whole world. He's in charge of me. The me that I think I am. Because I think I am body, mind, intellect. I think I am my senses, my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my likes, my dislikes. And then even within the thoughts, there's so many categories, and he's Lord of all. All the thoughts I think. So, he pervades me. Where will I find him? In all the different groups, and within me only there's so many groups, and so where will I find him? Within me. Namaste Ganapataye, isn't he some God? Because Upanishad won't say that. Upanishad is not that. God, me, puja. That's not what Upanishad is about. Upanishad is always about me seeing the oneness, always about me turning back within. And so here the idea of Namaste Ganapataye is to be able to see how he pervades me, resides in me, controls me, blesses me. And to understand that all these groups that pervade, that I feel is me, is actually him. I'm not space, air, fire, water, earth. He is. I'm not a bundle of thoughts. It's his. I'm not of all the emotions I feel. His. And so even at the very first mantra, the oneness is already brought into being, but we have to have that tuning to be able to understand. And every time we say Namaste Ganapataye Namaha, Om Ganapataye Namaha, to know that this is what we are saying. We are saying that there's no difference. In Upanishads, it's completely always Mahavakya. The idea of Upanishad is not to increase the duality, but to increase the oneness. And to be able to feel that presence within ourselves. Tvameva pratyaksham tattvamasi. You are the very essence of the Maha Mantra Tattvamasi. Now again, just Tattvamasi we can do the whole class on. We can do the whole 4 days on Tattvamasi because the whole book is written on it. In Chandogya Upanishad itself, Tattvamasi Mahavakya comes about 9 times. Not just once, it comes again and again in Chandogya Upanishad. Then there's a text written by Adi Shankaracharya called Vyakriti, which is only a whole book on this mantra, Tattvamasi. And so to do the mantra justice is not going to be possible because we have a lot of Upanishad to go through. But Tattvamasi is to show the essence. To explain Tattvamasi, I think in the simplest, most brief way is to show the isness, which is continuous in all things and beings. So when we say the flower is, right? Here it is saying Tvameva pratyaksham tattvamasi. The flower belongs to this shape, but the isness belongs to Ganesha. In this mantra, Ganesha is seen as the highest truth in this whole Upanishad. So, what? Flower is. Right? I have it here, it's in my hand, you can see it. The isness of the flower is Ganesha. Why? Because tomorrow, flower was. No more is. But isness continues. So flower was, but dried petals is. Then next week, dried petal was, compost is. Then in a few months, another bush is. Another bud is. Another flower is. This flower, gone. If it comes and it goes, it can't be Ganesha. So flower is what doesn't come and go. The is. Dried petals is. Bud, another bush, compost is. What comes and goes I need not worry about. What I have to hold on to is what never goes. Because if it goes, and if that's what I'm holding on to, what's going to happen? When change happens, I get scared. With flower, you won't see it. This body is, let's be generous, another 100 years. This body, some of you are already scared. This body was and compost is. Terrible thought. Why? When flour was compost, you didn't think that was a terrible thought? This body compost? Horrible thought. Because you're holding on to body. If you hold on to is it scary? Atharva means fearless. We'll get scared if we hold on to that which comes and goes. Our mistake is we are holding on to that which comes and goes, and you can't stop it from going. Do what you will. We have to hold on to what doesn't go. We have to hold on to Atharva. It doesn't change. It doesn't move. It stays. So this isness, which is non-changing and non-dual, is Tat. And it's also Swamini. But you have to see it as Swam. Right? Guru says Twam. But when I hear it, I have to hear Aham. In English, when I say you understand me. So this changeless isness is Tat. And this changeless isness is Twam. Aham. Asi. Isness. Asi is the isness. The isness is Twam. The isness is Tat. The isness alone is. There's actually no Tat, and there's no Twam, and there's actually only Asis. Because if isness is Tat, then it's isness, it's not Tat. And if isness is Twam, then there's no Twam, there's isness. So isness is isness, which makes no sense. You just say isness. So there's no even Mahavakya, it's just one word. That alone is. There is only isness. And the essence of this Mahavakya is Ganapati. Tvameva pratyaksham tattvamsi. Tvameva kevalam kartasi. You alone are the doer. Tvameva kevalam dartasi. You alone are the giver. This is referring to this continuous dance. So we are saying you are the essence of Tattvamasi, but that's not what we experience. We are experiencing not isness. We are experiencing flower turning into dry leaves, turning into compost. We are experiencing I do and then I get the result. Right? I go to work, I get the paycheck. I go to gym, I get fit. Maybe lose weight, not guaranteed. I take a bath, I don't shower, I don't smell bad. I don't take a bath, I smell bad. So this is what we are experiencing. I eat too much, I feel uncomfortable. I forget to eat, I'm hungry. This is what we are not experiencing isness. We are experiencing, I got the red traffic light again. I only ever get red traffic light, why don't I get green traffic light? We are experiencing, I do, I get, I do, I get, I do, I get. Karta, darta. Karta, darta. I don't experience I am giving, I experience I am getting. Right? But who's giving? The laws of karma. Why do you always get the left right? your karma. I say it jokingly, but yes. And remember, our karma is even my thinking. So if I think I always get the red line, I'll always get it. And why did I get it? Because I got it. And my thinking is my action, and so it's my karma. Karta dharta. Our whole life is this dance. Action, result, action, result, action, result. All governed by the laws of karma. So I don't experience tattvamasi. I experience this doing, getting, doing. Who's doing? Tvameva. Ganesha. Who is getting? Tvameva. Ganesha. This whole dance that I am experiencing as my life, Tvameva. In the devotional language, we say, by your grace. I have this because of your grace. My success, your grace. My failures, your grace. Must be good for me. In the language of devotion. Take out the devotion, my failures, how dare you? Why me? But good devotion must be good for me. In the language of Vedanta, it's all a play. Apparently, if you look at neutrons through a microscope, they actually jump. They actually dance. Would be cool, right? We pay so much to go watch a dance show. Switch on ZTV to see some Bollywood dancing. Just watch the protons, neutrons jumping around. Zoom out. Those protons, neutrons are you and I. What are we doing? Just jumping around, dancing. Home to office, office to movie, visit friend, come back home, jump here, jump there. Our whole life is just this. Dance. Think of this, then think of that, then think of this, then think of that, then think of that. Tvameva kevalam dhartasi. Tvameva kevalam dhartasi. Tvameva sarvam kalvidam brahmasi. Everything is you. Tvam sakshat atma samidya. And this everything that is you is you are continuously there. When I say everything is you, then I have to be included in that everything that is you. And if I'm not included in the everything that's you, I get scared. How do we know this? We see it with Arjuna. When Arjuna had the Vishwarupa darshan, he got scared. He told Krishna, stop. Take it away. Imagine you get Vishwarupa darshan. And his reaction is, take it away. If everything is you and I am separate, very scary. But if everything is you and I'm included, then everything is me. And I'm no longer scared. Atharva. Who is this Atharva? Ganapati. Why? Because I'm not ready to see it as me. So I see it as Ganapati. Let me at least understand everything is him, including me. If I say I am everything, oh, way too much responsibility. I'll get stressed. Okay, no problem. Everything is you, Tvam, including We've just made a start on this most beautiful Upanishad. We'll resume tomorrow. Om Purnamada